Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in love that don't look like love at all. They don't come with roses or whispered promises under the moonlight. They come in the shape of silence, long nights with no messages, days with no calls, questions that echo in your chest with no answers. And in that silence, you begin to wonder, is he gone or is he watching? Because sometimes silence isn't abandonment. Sometimes silence is a test of patience, a test of loyalty, a test of how much of yourself you're willing to give away while waiting for someone else to return. But here's the truth. His silence is not just about him. It's about you. What do you do in those quiet hours? Do you shrink? Do you beg? Do you let your self-worth bleed away, hoping he'll see your pain and come back? Or do you stand strong, even with tears in your eyes, knowing that real love is never earned by suffering in silence? It's built by two people who choose each other, openly, without games. The silence is not absence. When someone you love suddenly withdraws into quiet, when the calls slow down, when the texts arrive less often or not at all, the natural instinct is to assume the worst. You tell yourself he has left you in his heart, that he's already chosen another path, that the stillness means abandonment. But silence is not always the same as absence. Sometimes silence is a hidden presence, one that lingers in the air around you, testing the ground before stepping back in. The hardest thing about love is not when someone tells you they no longer care. It's when you don't know what their silence means. That quiet creates a vacuum where your doubts echo louder than any voice. You replay every word you've spoken, every mistake you think you might have made, every moment where you fear you gave too little or too much. And yet, in many cases, the silence is not proof of absence. It's the proof of a person wrestling with his own feelings in the dark. He steps back, not because you aren't worthy, but because he needs to see how love breathes when it isn't constantly being reassured. In that silence, what he's really doing is watching, not always consciously, but deeply. He's observing if the bond between you is strong enough to survive without constant reminders. He's checking if you can trust without constant updates, if you can stand with him in uncertainty the way he quietly hopes someone will. It feels cruel, it feels cold, but behind it is often the deep fear that closeness might fade when tested, and so he pulls back, not to disappear, but to measure the gravity that pulls him back toward you. And yet, silence also shows what words cannot. Love is not proven in declarations alone, it's proven in the space between them. When he falls silent, he is unconsciously asking, will you crumble under the weight of my quiet, or will you remain steady in yourself? He wants to know if the bond exists beyond the music of constant communication. Like the ocean tide that retreats, his silence is a moment to see if the shore still stands firm when the water pulls away. For you, those days and nights of waiting can feel unbearable. Every second of quiet feels like rejection. But look closely, and you'll see that his silence holds his presence in a different form. The absence of words does not mean the absence of thought. In fact, it is often in the silence that he thinks of you most, wrestling with his own emotions, his fears, his longings, and yes, his love. The pause is not emptiness. It is full of his unspoken questions. But here lies the challenge: his silence tests you, but it also teaches you. It teaches you to find strength when you feel abandoned. It forces you to look inside yourself and remember that love is not about losing your voice in his quiet. It's about holding on to your own rhythm, even when his disappears. Silence does not have to mean rejection. It can mean space. It can mean reflection. It can even mean preparation for his return. The truth is, absence is final, but silence is temporary. Absence closes a door, but silence leaves it ajar, waiting to see if the light will still pour through when the heart comes back. What feels like a void is often the truest form of connection. A quiet pull, a hidden test, a waiting moment before love speaks again. Love under pressure never looks like the stories we were told growing up. It doesn't unfold in a perfect rhythm of messages, flowers, or grand confessions under the stars. Instead, it reveals itself in the silent hours, in the uncertainty, in the waiting that feels like it's breaking you apart. The moments when his voice is missing, when his presence feels faint, when you question if he's even thinking of you. Those are the very moments that strip love of its decoration and test what remains. Pressure shows us whether love is real, because what survives in silence is what can survive anywhere. When someone you care for pulls away, the heart naturally feels panic. You wonder if love is slipping from your grasp. You ask yourself if you should fight harder, hold tighter, or chase after what feels like it's drifting. But love under pressure is not about how loud you shout to prove you care. It's about what exists when there's nothing left to hold on to but faith. Do you still feel connected when words are gone? Do you still feel his presence in the absence? Can you still believe in the bond even when all the reassurances have disappeared? Pressure has a way of revealing what is fragile and what is unbreakable. If love only exists in the easy moments, when he is close, when he is sweet, when everything feels effortless, then it was never truly love, it was comfort. But if love endures through the silence, through the distance, through the moments when you doubt yourself and him, then that love is not just an emotion, it is a force. And forces are not destroyed by pressure, they are refined by it. The truth is, silence is not the absence of love, it is the fire that tests it. Under pressure, you begin to see if love is just words or if it's rooted in something deeper. Anyone can say, "I love you," when times are easy, but the question is, can he live it when times are uncertain? And more importantly, can you? Can you love without needing constant validation, without needing proof every second? Can you love while still standing strong in yourself, instead of losing who you are in the wait for him? Love under pressure also teaches us about balance. It's not about blindly enduring anything in the name of love. It's about knowing when silence is a test of patience and when it's a sign of neglect. Pressure clarifies. It shows you if someone is creating space to come back stronger or if they are slowly disappearing. And while that truth may be painful, it is also liberating because it allows you to see love as it truly is, not just as you wish it to be. The beauty of pressure is that it strips away illusions. If he is gone, the silence will eventually make it clear. If he truly cares, the silence will not erase that bond, it will strengthen it. And in the process, you learn something extraordinary. Love is not just about receiving constant comfort from another person. It is about standing in your own strength while still holding space for them. So, love under pressure is not a punishment, even though it feels like one. It is a mirror. It reveals whether your connection is fragile glass that shatters the moment it is pressed, or steel that bends but never breaks. And when you survive that test, whether together or alone, you discover a truth that silence could never erase real love. The kind worth keeping does not crumble under pressure. It endures. You are not here to prove your worth to anyone. Yet when someone you love goes silent, when they withdraw into distance and leave you questioning what you mean to them, it's easy to slip into the trap of thinking you must do something extraordinary to win them back. You replay every detail, wondering if you laughed too loudly, cared too much, or not enough. You convince yourself that if you wait long enough, if you hurt long enough, if you show your loyalty through suffering, maybe he will see your value and come running back. But love was never meant to be a test you have to pass. Your worth is not an exam, and your heart is not something to be graded. The truth is, the right person doesn't make you prove you're worthy of being loved. They see it from the beginning. They recognize it in the way you show up, in the way you care, in the way you give. They don't put you through silent trials to decide if you're enough. They already know. And if someone does pull back, it should never be an invitation for you to start bargaining with your soul, offering pieces of yourself just to earn what should be freely given. So many people confuse silence with judgment. They think his distance is a reflection of their inadequacy, as if every unanswered call is proof they're failing some invisible test. But his silence is about him, his fears, his doubts, his hesitation. It is not a verdict on your value. The moment you start believing you have to prove yourself, you've already surrendered the most important truth, that you were already enough before the silence began. Love is not meant to be a battlefield where you constantly prove your devotion while your partner sits back, and decides if you've done enough to earn them. That is not love, that is control. Real love is reciprocal. It flows back and forth, sometimes unevenly, but always with a willingness to meet in the middle. When you start fighting to prove your worth, you move out of balance. You stop being a partner and start being a performer, waiting for applause that may never come. And yet, it is human to want to be chosen. It is human to crave reassurance. When he pulls away, your heart aches for any sign that you still matter. But here is the secret that silence reveals. The person you need to choose you first is yourself. Because if you cannot hold on to the belief in your worth during the quiet, then every relationship you have will become a constant audition. You'll always be trying to prove something, and love will feel like labor instead of connection. The most painful truth is also the most freeing one. If he needs you to prove yourself before he returns, then he doesn't truly see you. And if he doesn't see you, then his silence isn't a test you need to pass. It's a sign you need to walk away with your dignity intact. Because love that requires you to lose yourself is not love. It is fear dressed up as romance. Your worth is not a prize waiting for someone else to claim. It is already yours, already present, already enough. His silence does not diminish it, his distance does not erase it, and his return does not define it. Love should not feel like a test. It should feel like a choice. Two people standing side by side, not one person bending until they break, hoping to be chosen at last. His silence often feels like indifference, like a cold wall you cannot break through, but beneath that quiet there is almost always a hidden fear. People rarely retreat from love because they do not feel it. More often, they retreat because they feel it so deeply that it terrifies them. The silence becomes a shield, a way to control emotions that threaten to overwhelm, a way to pause the vulnerability that love demands. What seems like distance can actually be the evidence of his own private battle with fear. Fear is a complicated companion in love. It whispers that if he shows too much of himself, if he leans too hard into his feelings, he may lose control. It tells him that opening up completely will make him fragile, and fragility feels dangerous for someone who has been hurt before. His silence is not a rejection of you, but of the possibility that by stepping forward, he may expose the softest parts of his soul and risk them being mishandled. So he hides, not because you are unworthy of closeness, but because closeness feels like standing unarmed on a battlefield. This is the part we rarely acknowledge, that silence is not just an empty void, but a language of fear. When he doesn't reply, when he disappears for days, when he lingers on the edge of your life instead of stepping fully into it, he is not simply testing you. He is protecting himself from the possibility of loss, of rejection, of heartbreak that once tore him apart. To you it feels cruel, but to him it feels safe. His silence is his armor. The hidden fear behind silence also comes from the uncertainty of being enough. Just as you wonder whether you are being tested, he wonders whether his return will be met with disappointment, whether he will live up to the love he sees reflected in your eyes. The quiet is his way of buying time, of measuring his own courage, of preparing himself for the possibility that the love he longs for will ask him to be more vulnerable than he has ever dared to be. And yet, no armor ever truly protects the heart. Silence may create temporary distance, but it never dissolves the longing that lingers underneath. Fear delays, but it does not erase. That is why silence often feels heavier than words. It carries the weight of everything he cannot say. Every pause, every unanswered call, every moment of withdrawal is filled with unspoken emotions, the desire to return, the fear of being hurt, the desperate hope that you'll still be there when he gathers the courage to step forward again. It's important to see his silence for what it is, but equally important not to mistake it as your responsibility to fix. You cannot heal another person's fear by proving yourself endlessly, nor can you erase the past wounds that made him retreat. His silence is his battle, and while it affects you deeply, it belongs to him. You can hold space for his fear without making it the cage that traps your worth. Sometimes, silence is simply the sound of someone learning how to love again. It is the quiet before vulnerability breaks open, the hesitation before trust is rebuilt. It is not about the absence of feelings, but about feeling so strong they have become frightening. And in those moments, the hidden fear is not that he doesn't care, it's that he cares so much it threatens to undo the walls he's built around his heart. Patience is often painted as a virtue in love, a sign of deep devotion and strength, but patience can quickly transform into something far more dangerous when it crosses the line into self-betrayal. Waiting for someone you love can be noble, but waiting in silence while you slowly lose pieces of yourself is not love, it is surrender. There is a difference between holding space for someone who needs time and erasing yourself in the hope that your endurance will make them choose you. When someone pulls away and cloaks themselves in silence, you are left with the choice of how to respond. Do you wait with quiet strength, trusting that love has a rhythm of its own and that distance does not mean abandonment? Or do you abandon yourself in the process, allowing his silence to dictate your worth, your emotions, your entire sense of being? Patience is powerful only when it is partnered with self-respect. Without it, patience becomes chains that keep you tied to someone who may never return. The truth is, love cannot be proven by how long you can suffer in silence. Endurance does not guarantee devotion, and sacrifice does not always bring reward. When patience is pure, it allows love the time it needs to grow, but when patience turns into self-betrayal, it poisons the very foundation you are standing on. It makes you believe that your value lies in how much pain you can endure for another person, when in reality your value has never been dependent on how long you wait. There is a quiet tragedy in betraying yourself while waiting for someone else. It begins subtly ignoring your own needs, silencing your voice, putting your life on hold in the name of love. You tell yourself that once he returns, it will all be worth it. But days turn to weeks, and the silence grows louder. And without realizing it, you've built your life around someone who isn't even standing beside you. That is not patience. That is self-abandonment. Patience in love should mean holding your heart steady, not losing it. It should mean continuing to live fully, to grow, to laugh, to breathe, even as you hold hope for another person's return. It should never mean freezing your life, waiting by the door for footsteps that may never come. True patience is strong because it carries dignity with it. Self-betrayal, on the other hand, leaves you hollow because you've given away all of yourself for someone who has yet to even ask for it. The difference lies in whether your waiting nurtures you or destroys you. If you wait while still holding on to your dreams, your passions, your identity, then patience becomes a testament to your strength. But if you wait while losing yourself, while dimming your own light, while silencing your needs, while letting his absence dictate your every breath, then waiting becomes the very thing that erases you. You cannot love someone so much that it justifies betraying yourself. You cannot make silence sacred if it is costing you your soul. Patience is powerful when it is chosen from strength, but dangerous when it is demanded by fear. And in the end, love that requires you to betray yourself will never be the love that sustains you. Waiting should not mean breaking. Holding space should not mean abandoning your own heart. The test is not how long you can wait for him, it is how true you can remain to yourself while you do. Silence has a way of feeling like punishment, as if love itself has been put on hold. When he withdraws and leaves you in the quiet, it can feel unbearable, like the world has gone still and you are left suspended in a question with no answer. But silence is not only his test, it is your mirror. It shows you not just his absence, but your own strength or lack of it. It reveals whether you will collapse under the weight of uncertainty, or whether you will rise with dignity even when your heart aches for him. Strength in stillness is not about pretending you are unaffected. It is not about denying the pain of missing someone or suppressing the loneliness that creeps in at night. It is about acknowledging those feelings and still choosing to stand tall in the midst of them. It is about learning that your stability cannot depend entirely on another person's presence, because when it does, their silence will always have the power to break you. When you face silence, you face yourself. You come to see whether your identity is rooted in who you are or in who you are with. And this is where stillness becomes the greatest teacher. If you allow it, silence will reveal the truth, that you can survive without constant validation, that your worth is not measured by his responses, that your strength does not vanish simply because he has pulled away. What feels like abandonment can also be the beginning of self-discovery. Stillness can be the ground where you build resilience. When there are no words to hold on to, you learn to hold on to yourself. When there are no calls to reassure you, you learn to reassure yourself. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop surrendering your entire sense of peace to the unpredictable rhythm of someone else's silence. That is strength, not the absence of longing, but the refusal to let longing destroy you. There is a quiet power in standing firm during silence. It tells him something words never could, that you are not defined by his presence, even if you desire it deeply, that you can love him without losing yourself, that your heart is strong enough to care for him, but also strong enough to care for you. And if he ever returns, he will return not to someone broken by his distance, but to someone who chose dignity in the face of uncertainty. But strength in stillness is not only about him. It is also about you reclaiming your life in the moments when you feel most powerless. Silence invites you to step back into your own story, to rediscover the parts of yourself that may have gone quiet when love became the center of your world. It asks you, who are you when he is not speaking? Who are you when the waiting stretches longer than you expected? If the answer is someone still alive with passion, still rooted in worth, still radiant with dignity, then silence has not broken you, it has built you. His silence may feel like a test, but your strength in stillness is the answer. It is the proof that you can want him without needing to collapse in his absence, that you can hope for his return without dimming your own light in the meantime. Silence does not have to be the space where you shatter. It can be the space where you rise, steady and unshaken, ready for whatever love chooses next. If he comes back, let it be because he sees your strength, not because you survived his silence. Love should never be earned through suffering, and your value should never be proven by how much pain you can endure in the waiting. His return, if it happens, must not be the reward for your silence, your patience, or your longing. It must be because he finally recognized what was always there, your dignity, your heart, your unwavering strength. Too often we romanticize the struggle, telling ourselves that if we hold on long enough, if we endure enough nights alone, if we prove that we will not leave no matter how much it hurts, then somehow we will have earned love. But love was never meant to be something we win through pain. The truest kind of love is chosen freely, without games, without tests, without silence meant to measure devotion. If he comes back, it should not be because you bent yourself until you nearly broke, but because he realized you were already the one worth standing beside. And if he doesn't return, that is where your strength speaks the loudest, because your worth was never tied to his decision, and your story was never meant to pause in his absence. The beauty of holding on to yourself during silence is that you create a foundation no one can take away from you. Whether he returns or not, you remain whole. Whether he chooses you again or chooses to walk away, you still have yourself. That is the kind of strength that no silence can erase. The danger of waiting is that it can make you believe love only has one possible ending, his return. But the truth is, the ending has already been written in how you choose to carry yourself through the quiet. If you hold your dignity, if you do not betray yourself, if you continue to live and breathe and love yourself fully, then no matter the outcome, you win. Because you did not let silence reduce you. You did not let waiting consume you. You turned the hardest test into proof of your resilience. So if he comes back, let him come back to the person you are, not the pieces you gave up to earn his presence. Let him see that your love was never desperation, but choice. And if he does not return, let your silence be the final answer, an answer that speaks louder than his absence ever could. Because the true return is not his. The true return is yours, returning to yourself, to your worth, to your life, untouched by the games silence tried to play. The silence you face is not just about him, it has always been about you. His distance may feel like a test, but the real test is whether you can remain true to yourself in the waiting. because love is not about how much you can endure for someone else. It is about how deeply you can value yourself while you love them. If he returns, let it be, because he finally saw your strength, not because you broke yourself to prove it. And if he does not, then your dignity, your resilience, and your unshaken worth will remain untouched. In the end, silence does not define